Have you ever felt that one expected to be among people who are supposed to thee, to receive, to hold you and make you feel like you are part of something bigger than themselves? Imagine you arrive for a dinner with your family, that moment when you ought to be marked by the union of laughter and a deep sense of belonging. You put forward thinking about the good times, the conversations that are going to be natural, in the sense that, for a moment, all of you are in the right place for you. It's a scene that many people know well. The table is set, and the smell of the delicious food, up in the air, their voices blending in a natural and comfortable. It would seem that, for a moment, and it fits perfectly, and the feeling of belong to dominate the environment. But sometimes, this hope is abruptly broken by something that goes unnoticed in the eyes of those who are on the outside, but it carries a much deeper meaning. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. This story is not only a dinner. She reveals something that happens to us quietly, often in a way that's almost invisible, but it has a devastating impact on the lives of those who experience it. It is in that sense that, once inside the program, there's a shadow, the exclusion of which has been set into motion, a small action that, in what seems like a small thing, but it carries a powerful message, to the right of belonging, of sharing and being with, can be turned by hand movements that go unnoticed by many. Have you ever gone through this? You already have experienced or have witnessed someone going through a situation where all of a sudden, in a chair that has been stripped of a presence, has been dropped, or the space has been deliberately left blank. The scenario is that I am going to show you now. It goes beyond that. It seems pretty obvious. It's a story that shows how gestures are deceptively simple, almost quiet. You can hide the attitudes of exclusion in the world. Actions that seem small, but they load a message that was devastating. The denial of the right of someone else to be with, attend to, be seen. And this is the kind of racism many times. I don't have the words. It is in the details, gestures, almost invisible, leaving deep scars on the soul. It's a story that speaks of pain, and in some instances, a silent struggle for recognition and dignity. And at the same time, it is a call to all of us to become aware, questioning our own actions and the impact they can have on the lives of those around us. If you think you've seen it or lived through something like that, so get ready. Because from then on, the story comes out, it will make you think about the importance of seeing beyond the words and perceive the actions that often go unnoticed, but they carry the whole burden of the meaning of it. And, who knows, such a narrative can help you to wake up to a new understanding, a feeling higher and a deeper commitment to building a world that is more just and inclusive growth. It gets to me, because what's coming next is going to transform the perception of something that very often we take for granted today, but which, in fact, it's central to our humanity. If you've come this far, it is because of this thought, touched some place in your heart, or it has sparked a new curiosity in you. Your participation is very important to you. This message will continue to grow, and to reach more people, like you, seek to understand, learn, and make your own attitudes and actions. Leave a comment for an example. Please share your experience or opinion on the topic. This will help to create a connection that is closer to the truth in all of us, to strengthen this network, empathy, and sharing knowledge. In addition, if the contents of it made sense to you, go to the video. It's a way of showing that you appreciate this effort and what you want to see more issues like this here. And of course, if you want to continue with this journey of discovery and reflection, subscribe to the channel. This is the best step to ensure that you don't miss out on anything new. Your support makes all the difference, and she's been driving the growth of the channel and extends the reach of these messages are important by helping to build a community and a more mindful, friendly, and engaging. So don't hesitate to leave your comment, enjoy, and subscribe. And so together we can continue to explore these issues and inspiring real change in our society, always with the same hope and empathy. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth which is hidden by the back of our decision-making, is often hidden in the details that we hit on the patterns we've learned from early on, and that, without realizing it, you end up casting the whole of your journey. You know that feeling of being stuck in a loop? Notice that the more we try to change something that is invisible to us and pulls you back to the same place. This is where it comes to the understanding of how our minds work behind the scenes. Many times we are guided by the belief that you don't even know that they exist, which have been implemented over time through the influences of the outside, for the experiences of life, or even in a culture that often valued on the surface of appearance or an immediate success, rather than promoting real transformation, is within. These beliefs act as a kind of filter that is invisible, and it determines what we can and cannot achieve, limiting our actions and the strengthening of the things that we believe to be possible or impossible to make. The most intriguing is that, for the most part, neither of us are aware that we are caught in these traps of mind. You act like a real spiderweb, thus preventing us to walk in a way that is more authentic and in alignment with our deepest desires. To understand the origin of these limitations, we began to realize that the change is not simply a matter of wanting to, but the reprogramming of this internal narrative, challenge truths which have been imposed upon, and to rebuild it in a new light, more empowered, and it is true. It is a journey of self-discovery that reveals the behind-the-scenes of our own mind, and oftentimes find ourselves in a battle of quiet quiet between what we want and what we believe to be able to take over. It's as if you're carrying a map of the old one, full of appointments that lead to a destination. That is, in fact, it was never the real goal. And in the process of the transformation, the key is to ask what has been regarded as the absolute truth up to that time, as it is a revelation which breaks the code of silence and bring to the fore the impact of our choices, often based on fear, insecurity, or even the expectations, nor were our own truth. When you begin to unravel those behind the scenes of mind, everything takes on a new meaning. We look at our decisions in a different light, more aware, more in tune with who you really are and what you want to achieve. And that clearly is what is driving genuine change, one that is more than skin deep, but it transforms it from the very core of our essence. At this time, we find that the impact of the choices we make will go a long way beyond what we might have previously thought, and influence the whole of our history and even the people around you. After all, every decision we make is like a seed planted in the soil of our lives, and understand the workings of our brains is how to find a key that could open the door to true freedom comes from the inside out. And so, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the transformation is precisely on this point: the courage to face up to the truth it hides behind our actions, and in order to rewrite our story in a way that's more aligned with our values and authentic. This is a journey that requires courage, yes, but also a huge dose of curiosity, and the desire to reveal behind the scenes of our own minds and to understand how we can use this knowledge to our advantage. In the end, the big reveal is that we are the architects of our own destiny, and that, in the limit, can now be deconstructed in the morning, with the understanding of the right and open-minded to new possibilities. And in the process, one thing becomes clear: it's the truth. The more powerful it is always within us, waiting to be discovered, revealed, transformed into a force that moves the whole of the journey. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of the transformation. It really shows you that many times, the biggest obstacles are rooted in our own minds. And it is here that we begin to realize that the real battle takes place internally, in the thoughts that are repeated as a mantra many times, without realizing it, by limiting our actions, our decisions, every day. These beliefs have often been built up over the years, through experience, the environment in which we grew up, the stories we tell ourselves. And, if we don't get the attention that they become a truth, an invisible wall that prevents us from moving forward, to try out new opportunities, and to achieve a life that is truly meaningful to us. For this reason, the transformation begins when we question those stories, when we accept that everything is as unquestionable truth, and we begin the review with a critical look at the things that limit us. On a deeper level, this change requires courage because a lot of times it's more comfortable to stay in your comfort zone, even if it is an area of stagnation in the face of the unknown out of it. But, at the same time, it's that time of the confrontation with one's own beliefs, it all begins to make sense of it, because that's where we found out that all the things that seemed to be invincible was, in fact, an illusion created by the narrative, and which we have learned to accept that as the only way of doing things. And when you realize this, you start to understand the impact of our way of thinking is so much greater than we can imagine. Each and every decision we take, every step we take is in the direction of the future, and it is shaped by a series of thoughts that you often don't even realize that they are there to influence our choices. These are the thoughts that will create a kind of a roadmap of the unseen, which directs our actions and our moods. And if you want to change in the course of this story, we need to rewrite this script, enter the new narratives that empower, to make us see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. This is a journey of self-discovery, to discover our own hidden truths, which are often buried under layers of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. When we were able to open up the space for this discussion, we begin to see that true freedom comes from within, not from a change in mentality, which makes possible a radical transformation in the way we see the world and ourselves. It's as if, when you remove the lens is distorted, which saw the reality of it, we might realize that all around you are also transformed, to reflect the new energy that we have. And this change, in turn, has a direct influence on the way in which we relate to other people, the environment, and the opportunities that come our way. Because as we change internally, we've created a new frequency, a vibration that attracts so that it is in line with that new version of yourself. It's a virtuous cycle where the transformation generates the external effect, and, in turn, boosts our self-confidence and the motivation to follow through. And so, to understand the relationship between what we believe and what we achieve, it is essential for those who want to change their way of life in a lasting way. After all, it's the courage to face your own truth, to confront one's own boundaries, and open up space for a new narrative, which is in line with what we're really trying to achieve. And in doing so, we realize that the real power is in our hands, and in our ability to pick and choose which stories we tell from now on. What will be the next chapter in this journey of self-discovery, which is, first and foremost, an internal revolution that reverberates in the world around us. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject because it's just in that moment of understanding that many people are starting to realize that the transformation does not happen by chance, but is the result of conscious decisions that we we make day in and day out. And these decisions, in turn, are driven by our belief in the deeper ones, the ones who often do not even know that we carry with us. It is like we are trapped in an internal narrative that has been built up over the course of the year, which was influenced by experiences in the environment, by people close to him, and that shapes what we believe to be possible or impossible to make. To understand this dynamic, we can begin to understand that the real revolution starts in our mind, in our way of thinking. It doesn't help to change the external world. On the inside, our story is still the same. It's like trying to build a solid home on an unstable ground for the effort. It can no longer be sustained. So, the first step of this transformation is just that. Challenge the narrative that we have about ourselves, about our limits and possibilities. Many times, this is a story that was written by others and by the opinions of others, fears a legacy or a distorted view of it, is a success, happiness, or fulfillment. When we allow ourselves to break down these concepts, we opened up the space for a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who we really are and who we want to be. This is a process that emerges with the courage to make different choices, to give up old patterns that no longer serve, and more, and create a new version of ourselves. And this is not something that is achieved at one time or another, but it is a continuous journey of self-development, where every decision, however small it may seem, it has a profound impact on our development. When talking about impact, and you can't stop the invisible side of this change, it is often the most powerful. It's the small actions of daily living, with the thoughts of what we've cultivated and the words you choose to say or to be silent. You are going to shaping this new reality. It sounds simple, but this is where many people get lost. The routine. The routine is not to see, not to wonder, not to challenge it. And at the same time, it is at this stage that it happens to the greatest change, because that's where the real power within itself. For the back on this journey of transformation, there is also a behind the scenes, which often remain hidden, the fear you try to hide it, and the questions that urge to come out, the old wounds who continue to bleed when you least expect it. It is important to understand that these things are all part of the process, and you deal with them is what really strengthens us in our minds. This is not a fight against these issues, but in a banquet, being aware of them and learning how to respond to them without leaving that on the master. And as we've explored in these scenes, we are also faced with the stunning revelations about themselves. Many times we discover that what we thought to be a weakness, in fact, it's an opportunity to grow, or that of our greatest limitations are, in fact, is rooted in the belief that we can reschedule. This is a journey of self-discovery, is a map that shows the paths to the deepest of our souls, leading us to a greater understanding of the impact we can make when we align our actions with our true intentions. This internal evolution is not a straight line, but it is a path full of curves, ups and downs, moments of doubt, and in the interests of clarity. With each step taken in this direction, each of the decision to keep the focus on our transformation, and it contributes to a broader change that reverberates beyond the US. It's like a chain of influence that extends out into the universe and to influence the people around us, inspiring stories of courage and authenticity. After all, when you become older versions lined up in ourselves, we can begin to reveal the truth hidden in that many times it is hidden beneath layers of fear or doubt. That is, our greatest strength lies in our authenticity and the courage to be who you really are. With this, we can see that the journey of transformation is not only about achieving results, but also about a deep connection with who we are of the truth. It's an eye-opener to the kind of potential that exists within each and every one of us, just waiting for the opportunity to express their views. And in doing so, we are writing new chapters in our history, with more courage, more and more of an impact. All of this is, of course, requires paying close attention to the choices we make, and a willingness to face up to the truth it hides many times that we would prefer to conceal, and comfortable to move on, even when your paths seem in the air. Because in the end, this is the essence of the revolution, a journey into the inner, which turns on the external impact, creating a new reality that is aligned with our deeper purpose. Now, I want you to think about all of this and leave it logged in the comments with a word or a phrase that represents you in this journey of self-discovery and transformation. It can be anything that will inspire you, a word that sums up your point, or an idea that you want to carry out. After all, to recognize and to share those little truths is the first step to commit the change. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because it is precisely at this point that a lot of people are starting to realize that the transformation is not unique, with specific actions or decisions that fleeting, but a change of mindset that permeates each and every detail of our daily lives. In the real journey of self-discovery requires us to look beyond the surface, that which we may ask in our own beliefs, and face the things that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal even from ourselves. This is the part where the impact becomes more and more real. Where are the revelations that the internal start to emerge more clearly, and behind the scenes of our functioning comes to the fore, revealing patterns that you may never had seen. During this time, we have found that many of our limitations does not come from external factors, but internal dialogue, which for years has been fueled by doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. It is as if each and every decision which we take to be influenced influenced by a story of invisible, a story that we've learned to accept it as the truth without even questioning it. And in the process of this reflection, we begin to understand that we all have the power to rewrite that narrative, to create new stories that encourage growth and achievement. Not only is it a change in behavior or habits, but to transform the way in which we perceive ourselves and the world around us. The impact of this change in perspective is profound because it echoes in every aspect of life. From the simplest of decisions in the day-to-day life to make choices that involve the major steps, such as a change of career, to establish new relationships, or you seek for that achievement, which seem to be far away. When we are able to see beyond what your eyes can see, we are entering a realm of possibilities that once seemed unattainable. It is a process of release, to where the real power comes from the courage to face their own truths that are hidden from those who often prefer to ignore it for fear of what we might discover about ourselves. And along the way, we begin to understand that the journey of transformation is non-linear. It is full of ups and downs, moments of clarity, and the questions that come up as a test for our faith in their own potential. With each revelation, each and every step, it constructs a new way of understanding that grows stronger with time, training, and, above all, with a genuine desire to improve. It is at this point that the motivation becomes a force to be robust, able to sustain the changes in the deeper ones, the ones who really shape who we are and who we want to be. As I reflect back on all of this, it becomes clear that the real revolution starts on the inside. When we take responsibility for our choices, and we have become the protagonists of our own story, we take a decisive step on the road to freedom, emotional, and personal growth. And even in the face of these difficulties, this mindset gives us the strength we need to move forward with a renewed hope and a better understanding of what's really important. After all, it is the impact of a change, so it is invisible at first glance, but it takes more subtle forms and powerful in the way we think about the changes in our decision-making, and above all, in his or her ability to give a new meaning to his life. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because a lot of times it's the true transformation is in the detail that we've come to realize it is only when we take a step back, when we look at our journey with a look that is more attentive and less critical. It is in these moments that we begin to understand that change is not something that happens from one hour to the other, but rather is a continuous process, a kind of reconstruction of every day, where every decision, every thought, every action, they all add up to make a new version of yourself. And this is the new version, so it may appear to be silent, it has a profound impact on our daily lives, in our own way of dealing with difficult situations, and especially in the way how we see the world around us. In this context, a change of mind turns out to be a real catalyst for a transformation to a more long-lasting. It acts as a lens, a new perspective, which allows us to see beyond the apparent limitations, in addition to the obstacles, which before seemed to be insurmountable. When you adopt a mentality that is more positive, more resilient, we can begin to see opportunities where we could see only the difficulties. It is as if a curtain was raised, revealing the possibilities that are hidden behind the scenes from our daily lives, in between the lines of our deepest thoughts. This wake-up is essential because it gives us an invisible power, a power that is born of our own inner change, and it manifests itself in the impact we make on the environment, the people, and even in our own unique in-game achievements. From this point on, you begin to realize that a change of mind is not simply a question of willpower, but it's a matter of connecting it with what we truly want in our lives. It is a journey of self-discovery, connecting with the things that drives us to the truth, even when the way seems hard to fit into the story. And on this journey, the discovery of the small truths that are hidden within us that makes all the difference. We hold these truths are often hidden beneath layers of fear, self-doubt, or even during a routine control, which prevents us from realizing the potential that we have. When we are able to identify those parts built in, you can replace them with choices that are more conscious, by an attitude more in line with our values and dreams. Such a transformation is internal. It also reveals a new understanding of the impact that our decisions have on our lives. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it bears a heavy burden in the construction of who we are and who we want to be. And when you realize this, we begin to act in a more intentional, more in tune with our purpose. That clarity, in its turn, it allows us to create a domino effect of positive change. A decision leads to another, creating a chain that grows stronger each and every day. It's as if we're building a bridge between solid and made up of small actions that lead us to a state of stagnation, you to a journey of discovery set. These findings help us to understand the truth which is hidden by the back of the limitations many of the times. It is in our own minds, in the way that we see ourselves and what we do to be able to reach it. When you look at this process, it is evident that a change of mindset, even though they are silent, has an impact in the invisible, but rather a positive force for change. She's been working on behind the scenes, changing our perceptions and our patterns of thinking, and therefore, our actions. And then, over time, those actions will become habits and forming a new routine, which further reinforces this more positive outlook and sustaining. And so, our journey of self-transformation transformation, it becomes a truly heartwarming story, where each and every small step forward is a victory that fuels our hope, our courage, and our determination to move forward even when the path seems too difficult or unknown. And it is at this point that we begin to understand that the change of fact, it is not just a question of willpower or the strength of the outside, but it is a transformation that comes from the inside out, and a much deeper connection with what we really are and can become. When we were able to establish the connection, it will all become more clear, lighter weight, more closely aligned with what really matters to you. And in the process, I'm beginning to understand what each step is an opportunity for learning, growth, and above all, from a new viewpoint and our own story. And so, the journey becomes a revelation to the constant and opportunity to find out not only who we are, but who we can become, to the extent that we find out the hidden truth that resides within each and every one of us. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It reveals itself in layers. The inner of your mind, those details will often prefer to ignore. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes a sort of mirror, reflecting not only the achievements, but also our limitations to a more quiet ones, the ones who hide under the mask of life. And it is here that we begin to understand the impact of our decisions, not only for the present, but also about who we are and who we can become. When we look back, we realize that many times we are guided by a kind of writing, invisible, in a narrative that has been built up over the course of the year. Sometimes we will not even notice it. In these stories, inside, to these beliefs that we have, are shaping each and every step, every choice, every reaction in the face of adversity. And the big reveal is that when you recognize these stories and to ask them, we were able to open the door to freedom than ever. The liberty of rewriting our own script, for transforming limitations into opportunities, and to discover behind every mask, there is a world of possibilities waiting to be explored. In this process, we are confronted with a truth that hides many of the times we prefer not to accept, that our actions, even the simplest, have an immense power of the impact. Every decision you make, whether it be a small or large scale, you have the power to shape the future of our world in a way that we don't always get to see right away. It is as if we were navigating through a sea of options and possibilities, where every choice is a candle, which, if targeted, it can lead to amazing destinations. But to do that, you have to have the courage to face up to your own soul and confront the fears and insecurities that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal. When you immerse yourself in these behind the scenes to internal, we realize that the journey is not a straight line, but it is a path full of curves, ups and downs, new discoveries, and revelations. Every stumble, every fall is of inestimable value, for it can teach us something that there is no theory or the external could possibly offer. They are experienced many times, uploaded, pain, or doubt, which lead to an increase of the truth. And at the same time, you're going to dissolve those layers of self-deception that we have created to protect ourselves from the unknown, opening the way for a new understanding of ourselves. And it is at this point that, for the transformation, if it's something more than just a simple change of scenery or a routine, it transforms into our very own journey of self-discovery and a mission to re-signifying that it takes us to look beyond the obvious, beyond what we've been taught or what we believe to be the limit. Every step you take, every decision is a chance to make an impact on the world around us in a way that is more conscious and is aligned with who you really are. And that realization, that the connection with our inner selves, is what will determine the strength of the face of adversity, and we went forward with purpose and determination. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because it is the true key to the changes is the ability to realize all of the things that we believe to be true is, in many cases, a construction site, in a way that it can be taken apart, reevaluated, and the world, to the extent that we allow ourselves to explore the behind the scenes of our minds and in our hearts. When we do that, we can begin to understand that our story may be rewritten, and that the environmental impact of our actions can easily be expanded, and, in the center of it all, there is a powerful force for the transformation, which only waits for the right time to be awake. And when you make that connection, we realize that the journey is more than just reaching a destination. It is, in fact, an opportunity to constantly evolve, to reinvent themselves, and find out what is most real and deep inside of you. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to see beneath the surface of our decisions and our actions every day. Many of the times we believe that change is not something external, something to that depends on many different factors outside of our control. But the truth is concealed is that she is within each and every one of us, in our mind, in our ability to ask questions and to reschedule the things that we think of as the absolute truth. It's as if you're carrying a backpack full of the concepts of old, limiting beliefs that have been acquired in the course of a lifetime, and many of them without even realizing it. And the journey of self-discovery, it's just that the process of opening, this backpack will look into it and decide what's really worth keeping, what needs to be thrown out, and the one that needs to be renewed. When you think about it, we realize that our daily decisions, however small they may seem, have a major impact on our development. Every choice, every thought, every word spoken, all of which contribute to the shaping of our reality. And many times, this reality is a direct reflection of what we believe to be possible or not. So, the real change will require a change in our way of thinking, a conscious effort to align our values with all the action that you take. It's as if we're bridging the gap between who we are and who we want to be, a connection that has only become stronger when we have clarity of purpose and the courage to move forward even in the face of uncertainty. In this quest, it is also important to realize that the revelations of the deepest of many times to come in behind the scenes of your mind, those moments of silence where we stop to listen to what they're actually feeling and thinking. These findings may seem simple, but it is the key that opens the door to a true transformation. And that change doesn't happen from one minute to the next. Rather, it is an ongoing process, a kind of dance between the old and the new, between what we're trying to leave and what we choose to embrace it. The more aware we are of these internal dynamics, the easier it is to navigate through the ups and the downs, through the doubts and moments of clarity. Another issue that is often overlooked is the impact that emotions have on that development. Emotions, too much or lack of them, may clog or speed up this process of change. It's as if they were the invisible strings that connect our experience and our state of mind, influencing our decisions and thus our continued growth. So, to develop the emotional intelligence and learn how to deal with the ups and the downs, it is essential in order for the change to be sustainable. And it is true, because deep down, it all comes down to a matter of courage. The courage to face the truth, accept that you have to be shifted, and move on with determination. And this is where it comes to the importance of having a clear vision of the impact that decision has on our journey. When we are able to see beyond the present moment, we realize that every step you take, every choice is a seed that we plant for the future. And just like in nature, and not all of the seed right away, but all of these have the potential to grow and transform in the scene around us. It's a matter of trusting the process and to understand where the growth is, often a silent but powerful, and that every little decision, you have the power to shape who we will be tomorrow. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the real revelation, is in the understanding that this is a journey of self-transformation in fact, it is a journey of discovery of our inner selves more fully. When we got off a little bit, the noise is external, and the opinion of others, the standards imposed by the society, and you look at the inside, we've found a never-failing source of strength and wisdom. In this connection, the core is what gives meaning to every step you take. Each made a conscious decision to change, to evolve. And the more aligned you are with the truth within, the more natural it will be in the process of transformation. Because it starts to make sense. It all fits together in a way that seemed to be impossible. So when you step into this realm of possibilities, we see that in our history, with its many ups and downs, the sorrows and the joys, and it is the land where we harvest the results. Each and every scar, every win, every block, it's all part of a narrative, by a story of guts, the true and the impact of it. And that story is still being written each and every day, each time a new conscious decision to move forward, to learn and to reinvent yourself. Because deep down, the journey never ends. It changes, if it reinvents itself, if it is large relative to the extent to which we allow ourselves to see beyond the obvious and allow us to embrace our deepest truth. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. Those changes are visible all over the world, you can hear. It is at the very core of our essence, in our way of thinking, the way we see the world, and above all, on how we decide to act in the face of adversity and the opportunities that come our way. This is where the real revelation is happening, in those moments of quiet, in which we are forced to face our own limitations, our own deeply held beliefs, and sometimes even the truths of what we would prefer to keep hidden because of fear or comfort. The journey of reinventing itself is about having the courage to give up what no longer serves you, to ask you what you have been taught, and most of all, to accept that change is a continuous process, which never ends up actually. Each and every decision we take, every step we take, it is a piece that is going into place in the building of a new version of ourselves. And this is not always a linear or easy. Oftentimes, it requires us to face our own shadows, to those parties to which we would prefer to conceal it, because they reveal our vulnerabilities and insecurities, and even the failures of the past. But it is precisely this clash happens, the real release, the breakdown of the old paradigms that keep us from achieving the impact we have in mind. The impact is that we are not always great or amazing. It can also be, for example, a change in the way in which we relate to, and a decision to prioritize our mental health and an attitude that is more conscious in the face of our feelings and emotions. Each of these small actions is a fundamental building block in the construction of a mindset that is stronger, more resilient, and more in line with what you truly want for your life. And, in the process, a lot of times, we found that the secret is in the simplicity, authenticity, and being who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. It is at this point that our deeper truth is revealed and becomes the greatest source of power. As we move forward in this journey, we begin to realize that the revelations of the most important important, do not come from outside sources, but from within. They will come when we allow our mind to be open to new possibilities, when you decide to look into it with honesty and courage. It is in this space of self-discovery that we find the answers to the questions that you didn't even know you had, and the answers in the drive, the emotion, which before seemed to be far away or even impossible to achieve. After all, that's the true transformation doesn't come from trying to change the world around us all at once, but to make our relationship with Him and to understand the impact that our choices are our own history. And here, you will see a new layer of meaning. That is, the power of change is in our hands and in our ability to make decisions and think different, act different, and feel different. It is at this point that we realized that we are the protagonists of our own narrative, one of the authors of a story that you can rewrite whenever you want. This freedom to choose is, in fact, the greatest gift of all the journey of transformation, for it puts us at the center of our own destiny, in the ability to create a reality that is aligned with our values and dreams of the most profound. And at the same time, it teaches us that the journey is never lonely, because in touch with our truth, it is also in tune with the universe, with the infinite possibilities that exist for those who wish to be open to change. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this connection with our inner selves is what really turns it all. When we are able to see beyond the surface, beyond the limitations that are imposed by the external world, we can begin to understand that true strength comes from within. It is powered by our own conscious decisions, the courage to face the unknown, and because of the commitment to maintain a mindset that is open to the revelations that come up along the way. Every step you take, every choice is an opportunity to get closer to the latest version of the authentic self, the one who's not afraid to show who you really are, with all their flaws and strengths. And in doing so, we also start to understand what the difficulties are permanent obstacles, but in the moments of the session on the shape and strengthen your journey. They challenge us to give a new meaning to what we believe to be the truth, to seek is within us, a power that too often lies dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. As we move forward, we realize that each and every experience, whether positive or negative, is part of a large jigsaw puzzle that reveals our very essence, the one that no one can take away from us, even under the most adverse circumstances. It is in the process of self-discovery where we have the most lasting impact, one that doesn't depend on external circumstances, but it is born out of an internal decision to be true to yourself. By the end of this journey of transformation, it is also a journey behind the scenes of the ones we create for ourselves, a chance to uncover the deepest layers of our being. This is where the magic happens, when we are able to see beyond the obvious, when we allow ourselves to explore our own emotions. The more genuine and therefore is to create a new narrative, a story that truly reflects who we are and who we can become. And in doing so, we connect to a universal force that drives you to move forward with hope, courage, and an unwavering faith in one's ability to progress. Because deep down, the biggest revelation is that it all starts within us, and this is the key to a transformation which really makes it stand out. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too." And so, at the end of the day, it is the feeling that you are actually connected to something bigger, something that you guide us and strengthen us in every step of the. It is amazing to realize that, even in the face of these challenges, can be found in the U.S., with a quiet strength, a light in you that drives us to continue to look for new ways, and to believe that change is possible. If you've read this far, I want to say thank you for being with me on this journey, for your interest, attention, and the desire to understand more about themselves, even to make all of the difference. If you found this content is brought for some amount, we invite you to subscribe to the channel, because we will always try to deliver something that is both useful and that it makes sense on a day-to-day. You can leave a comment by telling you that I'm on this journey, or that this message has touched you in some way, so that we can connect even more strongly. And of course, if that kind of video, it made sense, give a like, because it is this connection that we have built over the content becomes even more powerful when you show that you are next to. It is a way of showing that we're growing together, learning together, and supporting each other on this journey of evolution. In the end, there's a video right here on the side, which complements everything that we talked about, and then you click in there and still am there. Thus, we maintain that the cycle of learning, reflection, and growth. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, remember, change starts within you, and the best is yet to come.